Welcome back to Philosophy with the Barber. I'm your host, Bree, and returning this week is Cassy.
Hello.
So, this week's conversation is going to be about how you measure success. You being whoever you are. In our case, we're going to talk about us, and maybe the possibilities of other people and how they might measure success. So, I feel like I'll start off since I know how I measure success, and that might jog some possibilities in your head. And mine's a very subjective, off the wall sort of way that I measure things. So the way that I view me being successful in what I do is financially being able to go to the grocery store, buy what I want, and not have to look at price tags or be concerned about it when I check out. As long as I'm making enough money to where I can do that, I feel like I'm a success.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. Being able to meet my financial obligations, cover my overheads, and not have to worry about couponing and budgeting hardcore and strictness as far as that goes. I like to be able to buy the things I want when I want.
Yeah.
But I don't have I want to make 6 figures or I want to have this much in my 401k or whatever. Those hard numbers are not how I measure my success. It's my quality of life, the amount of stress that I have.
Yeah. I feel like that's exactly similar to how it is for me. I measure my success in the little things. In not being able to worry when I go to fill up my gas tank, that I can just push the pump and let it fill up my car and I don't have to wait for certain numbers or
not having to check your bank account before you buy something.
Being able to, if I want to call and order lunch that day, that I can. And it's not something I have to worry about. Definitely, I definitely measure my success in what I might be able to do financially, for sure. I also feel like I measure my little bit of success, what I've gotten to notice here, now being a new business owner and stuff, is I feel very successful when I hear about someone referring me. It just makes me feel successful. It makes me feel accomplished. It makes me feel
like you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
There's progress being made.
Yeah, I've noticed that here lately when I hear someone mention that they know they came to me because of so and so. I'm just like, yes, thank you. I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right things. We're moving in the right direction. Yeah, that definitely helps too.
Well, and I feel like we can't recognize those markers unless we have an idea of what our success will look like. So, if you don't have a destination in mind, how do you know you're headed in the right direction?
Exactly. Because my views on success have definitely changed just in the short amount of time that I have become a business owner, because it was completely different a year ago as a booth renter.
Right.
Not knowing I was going to even open a business a year ago. So that wasn't even in the forefront. You know what I mean?
That wasn't a goal.
Yeah. My view of success was at that point was having a busy day. That was just my form of success. It was just very different. I was a lot more wild, I guess you could say, in my
short term.
Yeah.
Off the cuff.
Yeah.
Go
definitely
with the flow.
Fly by the seat of my pants living, for sure. Yeah. I didn't have to really worry about a whole lot. But now that I am a business owner, I'm so focused on the success and just making sure that it thrives. It's so different.
Well, because I feel like as a booth renter, you're coming in and you're sitting your business on a foundation of a shop that exists already. Whereas as a shop owner, you're building that foundation to be stable for yourself and perhaps others in the future. So, I feel like booth renters kind of take that for granted sometimes, depending on the environment you're in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it's those things that you're building your business off of, you're not having to worry about because they've already been taken care of for you. And, I mean, that's a really great position to be in, especially when you're new to the industry. You need stability.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the most enticing things when looking at shops getting out of barber school, is who what shops were already established enough to be able to support a new barber.
Because you don't know everything right out of school. You
Not
don't know
at all.
you don't know everything 2 years out of school.
No, you really, really don't. I feel like I'm 3 years now, and I still learn stuff all the time. I did a haircut today that I was like, oh, thank God I pulled that off.
This is why we have procedures so that we can like apply them accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. But back to success, I feel like mentioning like the big numbers and stuff, some people do view it as that. They view it as how large of a sum you have of something, whether it be like, do you own a lot of property, or do you own a lot of things and fancy toys like boats and extracurriculars and those sort of things, like, and that's how you look to be a successful person.
And I mean, that is, I suppose, a way to measure success. I just think that is a partial view on that measurement. Like, that's only an external view. It's like, you don't necessarily know, because if you're comparing yourself to a person who has those things, it's like, you don't know what goes on behind the scenes for them to be able to do those things. Like, you only see that they're a barber and that they own those. You don't see behind the scenes that they are in real estate, that they make investments that have nothing whatsoever to do with barbering, that they're engaged in other business ventures beyond that. Because, I mean, unless you're in a really high luxury style city situation, the likelihood of you making that kind of money just from cutting hair is real slim. So like having a grasp, it's kind of like only seeing, the YouTube video. Like, you don't see the editing and how long that takes. You don't see the finding of clips or GIFs or anything that's inserted in the video. Like, you don't see the hours that are spent working on that are not the fun part.
Oh, I can only imagine. I've now made 2 reels, 3 maybe. No thank you. Shout out to all the video editors, because y'all are doing a great job.
Right. There's a reason that's a profession.
It's the reason why you have to go to school for it.
Oh my goodness, just getting like acquainted with GarageBand to record this stuff was just like, YouTube, please help. Because I have no background in sound anything. Thank goodness for the age of the internet.
You can literally find whatever you need on there. That's literally how I learned to crochet.
So, I'm thinking, because you did bring up the booth renter aspect, like, how did you measure your success when it came to school? And, like, school's a little bit easier to measure, because, I mean, you have tests that you have to take, and you have, licenses you have to earn, that sort of thing. And was it only those things that they, like, put on you as, like, how you measured your success of, like, because, I mean, it's so personal and subjective, like, when things click in your head and you finally start to understand things, that it's nice to have those markers on paper, but, like, if the flat top doesn't click, it doesn't click, and it clicks differently for everybody.
I will say it was a lot easier for me to measure my success in cosmetology school, only because the campus I was at was very busy. So, like, had the potential to be very busy. So you were constantly learning and getting to see what you were learning and getting to actually execute those things on a more regular basis there. And we actually even had this little chart, but that's more on paper. But still, we had a top stylist of the week and top retail, and it was like the top 5 for each for the month, sorry. And so, like, it very early on became a goal of mine to get on that board in some way, shape, or form. So when I was getting towards, like, my last phase of school, I was on that board every month. And that for me was like, I'm really getting the hang of this. Like, this is what I should be doing at this point in my time here, is I should be hitting these numbers. I should be getting return clients. I should be continuing to execute the things that I'm learning. Whereas barber school was a little different because I did struggle a little bit more learning fading on a mannequin head and stuff because our clientele basis for that campus was very slim. So unfortunately, with a class full of females, we didn't get a lot of interacting with practicing. Like, yes, we could shampoo each other and give each other facials, but like, that's not a real face shave. That's not a fade on a haircut. That's not any of the things that you need. So it was a little bit more difficult for me to measure my success there. And I actually did struggle a lot more and did need a lot of affirmation from my teacher sometimes because it was hard for me to see where my success was being formed there.
Well, and I feel like that's probably a really good practice for even salon and barbershop owners who have employees, especially because you have that sort of control to provide hard goals like that for your people of like top barber, top stylist, top retail sale, like those things that it's like for people who otherwise haven't acquired the skill of self-setting goals, where it's like, all right, this is something, and to make sure that everyone on the team is focused on those same goals.
The same goals.
That way
exactly.
everybody's heading in the right direction. That's a great thing for people to implement.
Oh, I love seeing my name at the top of that list. In fact, ironically enough, I'll go back in some of my pictures. 'Cause I took pictures of them, of course. So, like, they're on my iPad. So those pop up. I'm like, yes, that's right. I did that. Successful. It's where I wanted to be. I remember seeing it when I, like, toured the school. And I was like, those are the people that I want to follow behind. Because, like, they're really utilizing that. I took it as they're really utilizing their time and their program there.
Well, I suppose it probably has something to do personally for what type of person you are as far as motivation goes. Like, if you're externally motivated or if you're internally motivated.
Ooh, that is a very fair point.
Because
that's not a win for everybody.
Right. It's not everybody wants to be on that board. Some people shy away from recognition like that.
Yep, they prefer to be in, like, more of the shadows.
In the shadows. Yeah, and I'm trying to decide what I would prefer personally. Like, part of me would be like, oh yeah, I could totally get on those boards. But that's not how I'm motivated personally. I'm very internally motivated. Like, you just put me in a room with what I need to figure something out.
Yep.
And if I've got my goal in mind, I'm gonna make sure that happens. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but it's gonna happen.
Yep.
So, I suppose it's a little bit of both.
Now, reflecting on this and having this conversation out loud, I apparently thrive on the external so much that I was, a lot of the times, especially towards the end, I was kind of like, not teacher's pet, but I was one of the oldest in the program. So, like, that was a big factor in it as well. But I've got very close with all the instructors. But I actually started being the one to write the board. Like, I got to go through the list and highlight, like, look at everyone's numbers for the week. And I got to be the one to sort through and see what people's numbers were, and then I got to write the list on the board. Like, that's how much I loved the external. I'm like, yes, let me see the numbers. Let me compare them. Let me see how good I am, because I have no idea. Oh, goodness.
I feel like that's also fair. Like, I mean, who can accurately critique themselves?
Oh, God, not at all.
Nobody.
At all.
Like, we are so critical of ourselves.
Yes.
We're like, we have such a funhouse mirror.
I think that's probably why I took so many pictures of the board, so that way I could remember, because it just seems so unrealistic in my brain that I could have achieved those things on my own.
You don't have problems taking compliments, do you?
Sometimes, only on occasion. Depends on who they're coming from.
Or what they're about?
Yes. Yes.
Because sometimes I will argue with a person. I'm trying to get better. I know how to say thank you. Whether I believe you or not, I will say thank you.
Just at that point, move on.
Yes. Don't make it a conversation.
Don't dwell, because then it will become a debate.
Yes. If you've opened it up to conversation, now I can have a say.
Yes. We just move along like it never happened.
Oh, I love your hair today. Thanks.
Perfect.
My brain goes, I did nothing with it. Absolutely no effort. Why am I getting a compliment?
My favorite is how I constantly get complimented on the change of color with my hair.
Which is
I haven't
time.
changed the color of my hair in months.
But
the only
time
thing,
and shampoo has changed the color of your hair.
well, to be fair, most of these men are talking about the fact that I have purple in my hair. This time it's only been the haircut. There's just more purple visible now. Most of them are like, purple now? I'm like, now I've had purple in my hair for a solid year.
Yes, but it was so long that it got covered up.
know.
It's on the bottom.
I'm trying to take all these things into consideration. I just find it so amusing every time I get a new compliment on it. I'm like, thanks. Yep. Yep, it's new. New shade for me.
So, in the same vein, when we're coming to measuring success, since, I mean, you're my co-host for the foreseeable future until we have another guest on, and then you're gone.
Vanished back to the unforeseen.
How do we measure the success of the podcast?
Ooh, I feel like that's a trick question.
Why?
I don't know. Do we market the podcast?
Define market.
Exactly. Look, here we go. This could go on. We could
I'm
loop
certainly
this
not paying anybody.
for anything.
Nope. I mean, aside from like keeping it on platforms.
Oh, yes.
That's how it exists.
On all the
It's
platforms.
very, very tiny investment. I personally think of it of like, remember when I get to see the downloads, so I get to see the analytics.
Yes.
I view any number as a success. Any download.
Literally, when you were telling me about the fact that you had like a couple here, a couple there, a couple there, I was like, oh my God, a lot of people have listened to this podcast. I was like, she's done so good.
We have very low expectations.
Very low. Very low.
But it's also because like we're doing it in case
realistically,
people like
we're
find
not
it useful.
asking for much.
Right.
That's why the expectation is so low. It's because we don't need a whole lot.
Well, and
We're just here to help.
and this isn't costing us much other than time.
Yeah.
Like we're having conversations that we would be having without the microphones in our face. That are important, especially for you as a new business owner to think about.
Yes,
And
that is
somebody
very
who's
true.
still, I'll say, relatively new to the industry. And so anybody who might find like a nugget of knowledge or a kernel of truth that they never thought of or like they could find useful, just because we decided to throw this out into the world,
Yeah,
I consider that success.
agreed. If we have one new listener since I started, I'd consider that a success.
We already have that.
Oh my God, we've done so well. Oh my God, people have heard me. I'm sorry.
She's louder than you hear her. Trust me. So, all right. From a booth rental perspective, thinking back now, what do you think you would have adjusted as far as like how you measured success? Because we were talking, you were flying by the seat of your pants a little bit because you could, like, you had an anchor that allowed you a little bit of freedom.
Yep.
To be a little crazy. Would you have done anything differently, or like if there were some adjustments that you could make to cause a different result? Is there something you might have done?
Ooh, I might have not been so fly by the seat of my pantsy. Just more so financially, I wish I would have held back a little bit on some of my frivolous spending.
From like the tattoo funds?
Yeah, just a little bit. I wish I would have kept some of that, but...
But you didn't know that you were going to do this.
Correct. I didn't know I was going to do this, and realistically, no, I don't think I would have, because it fit for the times. I feel like we're supposed to adjust and adapt accordingly, and so it's good. I feel like it's good enough for me to know that I've at least shifted those views and those focus points as a business owner now. And it is a lot more taken seriously.
Well, and for those listening, the more context is that I tricked Cassie into opening her business.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, kind of. When you put it like that, you're not wrong.
It was kind of an ultimatum.
Yeah. You either do this or stay. And I was like, well, guess I'm a business owner now. But it's been amazing. Like, it's obviously had its hiccups, and like there have been moments of
There's been a special kind of stress
that
you've never felt before.
Yeah, the new kind, but it's also been very fulfilling to see where it's already come in such a short time, and the fact that in this short time I'm already able to see such potential. I'm excited. Everything's happened the way that it was supposed to initially. The ultimatum was meant to be.
I'm such a bully.
You just sometimes know what's best for people. Jiminy.
I don't know about that.
Hindsight's 2020.
I know what's good for me.
Fair, yeah.
And then, like, if I can offer something that will, like, tick a box for you.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, this could work for both of us. Like, I feel like that's part of knowing yourself, learning your boundaries, like, not giving in to things that you know aren't going to be good for you in the long run. Like, my departure plan before, like, Buyer or anything, like, I had already mentally knew that I needed to be a one chair situation.
Yep.
Like, I had already known. I had gone through 2 winters of depression and just like really, really bad mental health, knowing that I was not in a happy place. I was not content. I was feeling taken advantage of from time to time. I was just not in a good place, and I knew something needed to change. Like, I always know when change needs to happen. And it's just a matter of like getting so tired of where you are that you would rather deal with the unknown.
Yeah.
And just be like, you know what? All right, let's do this. Because it can't be worse than what I'm currently experiencing. So having already, like, mentally, back February of last year, knowing this, like, worst case scenario, I have to close these doors and find another small place to open on my own, knowing full well that I am capable of doing that. Because I've already done it for the last 10 years.
Yep.
So knowing that that was already going to be my end game, but then having you already had agreed to stay on with the new owner, and us both not being content in that new situation either, to be able to offer you the opportunity to grow, even though that was never in your thought process.
Nope. Never.
Like, it was always in my thought process from the first day of barber school that it was just a given. I was going to own a barbershop at some point. That was the goal.
That was the goal for you.
Yes, always. That was like just understood. There was no question.
This is why I'm here.
This is just going to happen.
Yep.
No, it wasn't even like a conscious like, this is my goal. No, it was like, no, this is just ultimately the end game.
Yeah.
The foregone conclusion. So to be able to offer you something that you never thought
possible
was going to be a thing, and be able to offer you a hand.
Yeah.
It's like, I will hold your hand.
Yep.
I will take that leap with you. I'm taking this leap either way. If you want to come with me, let's leap together. And I'll make sure that you float.
Oh boy, we floated. We got this.
I'd say now we got a good swimming pace.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely doggy paddling for sure. Not in like a spastic way, like in a good, calm, I've got it under control kind of way.
I'm not hyperventilating.
I'm just leisurely just going through, enjoying myself.
More like a frog stroke.
Yeah. There we go.
We've adjusted animals. We've gone from dog paddling to frog stroke. It's a little more serene.
Either way, we're not drowning.
Yes.
In whatever context we use.
So we've covered like the general success feeling personally. I'm curious on what more concrete, like short-term goals you have for your business this year. Because I mean, short-term, within the year.
Within the year, I would like to be 80% booked out. I feel like that's very realistic.
I feel like it's very realistic, most especially in the summer months.
And I feel like there's also like little minor goals of like things I want to be able to afford for my shop this year.
Sure.
Little sort of things like that to help the space really feel what I'm now envisioning, because I didn't have a vision before. I didn't even know what to picture, and now that I've got this foundation, I've got some other things in mind. So more so that, but I'd really like to just have a steady flow of business coming in, which I'm not even worried that that's going to be the case, especially after how today was.
Right. It was a good day.
It was a good day. It was nice. It was warm out. So like people were out and about strolling, needing haircuts.
Now, to illustrate the lack of vision that she was referencing, the excursion of picking out paint
Oh my God.
with this woman.
I had no vision. I didn't know what I wanted it to be, and there's too many options, and my favorite color is gray. So like I didn't know what to do. They give you too many options at Lowe's. I mean, at any paint place. There's just too many options. They all look so lovely and would go well with so many things.
That's why we like vision boards. We compile the Pinterests, and then we go to the paint.
That did help. Once you gave me that nugget of information, that did help. I did make a little mini vision board in my screenshot area of my phone, at least.
All right. So, when it comes to being community-based, since we both live locally, and that we find that to be a big help in business, how do you view your success as far as community outreach, like, and what you want yourself and your business to be to the community? Because that's kind of something we haven't touched on yet.
We haven't, and it is
and
something
we really couldn't do it the way we used to do it this past time, just because we were opening around the same time. We're like, well, we can't do that. Sorry.
Yeah. I would like to get more invested into little things like that. Once I just feel like I have a little bit more finance under my belt as the year starts to get by, I would like to get in touch with more local business and just more so introduce myself and like really get my name and my face out there more. But I would like to work with the children's auction as we did at the old shop. I'd like to continue that tradition in my place.
Yes.
Because I love that. It's easy. It's
and it's time.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just taking a day. It's not that hard. I'm already doing it.
Yep.
Already doing it.
And it's for the kids.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll definitely be partaking in the creepy crawl.
Oh yes.
This year.
The Halloween trick-or-treating downtown creepy crawl in downtown Laconia.
Yep. Definitely that.
Well, because the first time that happened was last year. Like, that was the first, which is surprising to me, and I'm glad that it finally happened. And
Yeah.
the initiative that downtown businesses have taken to create that, props to them. Like, good on you.
But I'm not really sure. It's one of the things that I will plan to pick your brain about more honestly, to see other ideas and avenues of how, like, what's best for me too. Because I'm not sure. I've never lived in a community long enough to be a part of it. I was actually just thinking the other day, like, I have roots. Like, I officially have planted roots in a place. Like, I'm not going anywhere. And so, like, this is the first time in my life that I've really had that. So, like, I want to be engaged with my community. I just don't know how to get them to engage with me as well.
Being present at things is a good first step. Like being able to engage in conversations with people and network, make your face recognizable. Like, I'm not suggesting doing the insanity that I've done over the last decade of like religiously going to city council meetings or like joining city committees. I mean, that is a thing you could do. I'm not saying you shouldn't.
Yes.
But like, things that require time commitments. If you're somebody who can do networking events, that's a good way to get to know people. But otherwise, just like going into businesses and like being your friendly neighborhood barber self.
Yeah.
It's just gaining that familiarity, and then the more you get to know people, run into them, strike up conversations, and like being curious. Like I feel like that's the ultimate answer to things. It's just like, just genuinely be curious.
Yeah.
Like, like I know way more about road construction, how to build a bridge, zoning ordinances, parking overlay districts, and like all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't even think. The permits and what we have to do for building out the storefronts, all of that stuff. Like, I know that because I'm curious.
Yeah. And
I went to meetings that are, for the most part, pretty snoozeworthy unless you know the right perspective to take on them. It's all about perspective.
Yes.
And so those are the ways to like really engage in the community, as far as like being genuine and not coming off as like a salesperson.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you or the listeners, but I have a very deep drive to not waste my energy. I like to be very efficient with my time and my energy. So I'm not going to waste it trying to convince anybody of anything. So I'm not going to be anything less than genuine. Like, I'm going to be honest so that I don't have to remember a lie.
Yeah, exactly. I can barely remember my real life.
And don't get me wrong, I haven't always been that way. There are parts of my life where I was a total scumbag, and if people think that I am, that was probably the interaction they had with me, and that's fair. That's as true of an interaction as anything today. That could be the exact opposite. But like me today, I do what I can to tell the truth.
Yeah.
So I don't have to remember a lie. And that way, when I don't have to remember even when I tell the truth, because somebody will say something that I've said, and I will just go, does that sound like something I'd say? Or is that how I feel? I go, well, that sounds about right.
Yep. Checks out.
Like somebody, even something as innocuous as like making a reference. Somebody said that I compared a haircut to like a Marine haircut. I go, I didn't say that. Because I don't say that. That's not a comparison that I make. If I were to use a branch of the military to compare a haircut to, it would most likely be the Air Force, because as an Air Force veteran, I can make that comparison. And so when I told them that, they were like, yeah, that was it. That's what you said. And I was like, yeah, I didn't have to remember, because it's like a word that you don't say.
Yeah,
you go,
yep.
I wouldn't have said that.
That doesn't sound right.
No, that wasn't me.
Long conversation.
All right, so I'm curious as far as your perspective on other people's success and how it can be viewed or misconstrued. Like, I feel like our ways of measuring success should be very personal and not based on how other people view them. But that doesn't necessarily mean that other people aren't going to view them. And so, are there things for you when we're looking at other business owners? Because everybody's looking at other business owners. Like, it's not necessarily that we're comparing. It's just like, oh, like, do you have a good idea? Are you doing something that I could learn from?
Yeah.
Are there like things that you've seen that you're like, oh, oh, I really like that. Or things that are like puzzling, like eyebrow raising, like, I wonder why they made that choice.
I can say I've definitely stumbled across that. It is hard for me personally, it is very hard to not put myself into a comparison with other businesses, just because that is still something that I'm trying to like grow on. I am vulnerable as a new business owner in that aspect, that I'm automatically going to compare successes.
Sure, that's a natural thing that we do.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of keeping it in check.
Yeah. And so, which is something that I do try to do often, but I have definitely seen certain, even from just like shops that like I worked at, like my first shop that I worked at, like I saw some things that I've now seen in other shops that I'm just like, I wonder why they did that. Like, I wonder why they used to do and implement the certain techniques or cleaning procedures or whatever it is that I just kind of like scratch my head about now, because I almost know better, I guess is the best term to use. And it makes me wonder sometimes, seeing little things like that, how a shop is so visually successful. When I have seen the little behind the scenes stuff like that.
Well, I suppose in the era of social media and such, there always has to be a question of, is how you're perceiving them online reality? You go, I mean, somebody could be great at marketing as far as posting social media and looking as though there's engagement and hype, but that may not necessarily reflect in the same way in real life. Or vice versa. If you're just like, you're not good at the social media thing, like, I mean,
Oh my God, hello.
Reels. But like, just because you have, 400 followers on Instagram doesn't mean that you're not busy.
Yeah.
Especially up here in New Hampshire, where like social media is, we'll say, a solid decade behind the rest of the country / world.
For sure.
When it comes to like the median demographic.
Yes.
Like, they're still rocking the Facebook hardcore here.
Oh yeah. Heavily. I have noticed it is heavily Facebook.
Well, because our average age in the state of New Hampshire is like 42, 43. And in Belknap County, it's about the same. So, Gen Xers and higher, because like that's the average.
Yeah.
That means we have a large swath of people over the age of 50.
Yeah.
Being kind. So, that's why. But I feel like, being a why person, I too a lot of times will look at things the choices that are made, and I'll go, all right, what are the reasons, like on both sides of the moral line, that they could be implementing this policy, this change, this whatever. Because my brain automatically goes to like a business end of like, all right, from a business standpoint, what reasoning would this make logical sense to change this? And I go, all right, because it's two-sided, because as a customer service business, it's all right, what's good for the business, what's good for the customer. And I feel like if there is any way to tick boxes on both sides of that, those things should be done.
Agreed.
Like, I don't like personally making decisions that are only good for the business and don't serve the customer. I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
So even like coming up, I'm going to be changing my schedule. Now, I'm going to be changing my schedule first and foremost for the sake of myself and my husband and time we get to spend together. But in doing that, I also want to make sure that because I'm taking a convenience away from the customers, I want to offer them a comparable convenience. And so my adjustment of my schedule is offering a wider, it'll offer a net gain of availability during the week. So it's like I'll have more haircut slots available than previously. But, and it'll have a better variety of hours. So
yeah.
it'll be like, if you're a shift worker, it'll be more convenient because you'll have more than just the 1 day option that we used to have.
Yep.
So that's like a double plus. It's like, yes, we're taking away this weekend day, but making up for it, you can come at an even, like, you're not going to have to worry about, oh, I'm at work during that time, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to worry about that. So I never want to take something away without giving something back. And same with any business decision is like, if I'm going to, stop offering a brand, then I want to make sure that I'm bringing something on that's comparable or better, whether it's from a price point perspective or a quality perspective, like performance. Like, I want to make sure that I'm giving them what they should expect from my business and what I want them to expect.
Yeah, because if you're consistently just taking from one side, then that side's not going to stick around.
Right, because they're the one who allows the other side to exist.
Yes, and to thrive in the first place.
Yes. Like, if you're a business owner, yeah, you don't have a boss, but technically you have a boss, you just have a different one every butt that's in your chair.
Yeah. Because all their opinions and feelings also matter.
So you wouldn't exist without them.
You have to impress these people too.
So it is interesting if I see a decision being made that is unclear or obvious that it is not taking customer experience into account. And it also makes me question why you're bothering to own a business. It's like, do you actually care?
Yeah, are you just doing this for...
Or are you just trying to build a business to just suck in money? And is that what you care about? Like, because if so,
on how
you're
they measure success.
Correct. It is. But I feel like if that is your measurement of success, you should probably go with a different career path than something that is customer service focused.
Agreed.
Or find a team that can deal with the customer end of things, and you can deal with the business part. Like, if that's what you like, is just the business
part, yeah,
then power to you. Like, cool. Because, I mean, I am by no means, like, I make business decisions that are not based on growth. I am not trying to grow.
Yeah.
I am out of that phase in my business life. So some of my business decisions may confuse some people. But if you understand that growth is not my goal, then it makes sense. Like, exclusivity, hiding, like being private. In the shadows. Those are my goals so that I can offer myself, who is the only one I can control in this world, as long as God will let me. I want to offer the best quality experience to whomever my customers are. I am not interested in expanding that to other people at this point in time. Like, that is my goal. So those are what my business decisions are based on. So not knowing what the goal is for other people, I can't necessarily cast full judgment on them and their business decisions, but I will, and I have a prerogative to raise an eyebrow at it.
Yes, absolutely. And me being a new business owner, not following their lead in whichever decisions I raise my eyebrow to.
Because I feel like if your eyebrow is raised, if you're puzzled by it or you don't understand it, then that's not something you should do. If you don't know the why and you don't agree with the why, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yep. But I do feel like a lot of creation of like each next new shop, like some points of it it's like little pieces of different things you've seen in other shops and different things you've liked or different things you yourself have tried.
Definitely.
And it's interesting to see what pieces stay with you.
Well, and the imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, sort of a thing. It's like, I mean, I certainly wouldn't take it negatively if anybody took any little sliver of what my shop, whether before or now, has or had to offer. Like, you like that? Oh, thank you. You like that enough to implement that in your place? That's so nice.
Agreed.
But that was the same way that I started the first place. Was like, I worked at 2 other shops before that, and I had certainly visited a number of shops. So I saw how differently people ran things, and it was like, this didn't sit well with me. This was confusing. I think I might prefer it this way. You know, making sure I had sound reasoning for whatever decisions I made. Even like down to the where my hand towel hangs. Like, everything in the space is set up for a reason. Like, there is a why to all of it. And if there isn't a why, then it shouldn't be there.
Fair enough.
Like, it's functional. Like, even down to the, like, why do you have books in here? Because sometimes I have time between customers and I like to read.
Yep.
Or sometimes I have a conversation with people about books and I'll lend them out. Sometimes they just look pretty. And that's enough of a reason why.
Yeah.
Because surrounding yourself with pretty things, especially in your workplace, is important.
Well, and that's what I think some people don't even realize is, like, the why doesn't have to be this grandiose why.
And it doesn't have to be
It could
productive.
be because you like it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a productive why. It can be because it gives you a happy feeling.
Yep.
And if that's what you need, there you go. That's your why. But if you're like, I don't know, then how is that serving you?
Yeah. Then why?
Yeah. Like, it sounds like it's taking up space. It sounds like it's collecting dust. It doesn't sound like it's pulling its weight.
Yeah.
So I'm being on this tangent because apparently we've covered the topic of today's episode.
Tangent.
What is your favorite aspect of your shop? Because we've both created our suites from scratch. What causes the most happiness in your little space?
Rudy.
Explain to the audience who Rudy is.
So for context, Rudy was actually my very first idea for the space when we were looking at the space. It's got 2 very large storefront windows in it. And in my brain, I immediately was like, well, what the heck am I going to put in these 2 giant big windows? And the very first idea that I had was a 5-foot tall Sasquatch cutout. One of those big, tall yard Sasquatches. And so once I was able to afford him, just after the new year, I bought my Rudy, and I've got my rugged barber mascot just up in my window, and he brings me the most joy because I decorate him for all the holidays. He is currently wearing a green bow tie and suspenders for St. Patty's Day, and I love not only the joy that he brings me, but the joy that he brings other people. And I love when people take a second look at him when they're walking down the street. I think that's my most favorite part about it.
Oh, so Cassie's windows, they are on the more visible side.
I like to be seen.
You will never understand the layout of this space without having seen it.
Correct.
So I'm not going to try. Suffice it to say, she has her own entrance and her own street. We have separate addresses, but it's the same space. We'll not get into that. But, like, the people watching quality through Cassie's windows is, like, the best. Most especially watching people parallel park on the left side of the road. Because it's a one-way. But yes, the people watching and, like, being able to see people go by and, like, genuinely look at the things in your window. So entertaining.
It really, really is. When the little karate dojo kids come over and just watch through the window, just watch me cut hair.
Stone-faced.
I will say that for some of my clients, though, it is a bit distracting because they sometimes are just as squirrely as I am. And when people walk by, they are also entertained by people watching. I had one of my clients earlier today. He kept looking over every time someone walked by. And he was like, God, you must just sit here and people watch all day, huh? I was like, when I've got the time, I do.
I feel like at that point, you just
Pivot him.
Yeah, turn
just
them
a little
towards.
bit. Mm-hmm.
So you go, that way you just stop moving your head.
Yep. It's a win-win. You can still glance at me in the mirror if you need to, and you can still peek out the window. It's perfect.
Yeah. At the old shop location, I had the first chair, so I was right at the window. And I had some customers who would want to see like the goings on in front of the Colonial Theater.
Yep.
Which was not renovated at the time. So it had a whole different class of people
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
apartments
yeah.
above it. So I would just point them towards it. And it's like, we didn't have a TV. We were never going to have a TV.
Never going to have a TV.
So I was like, here you go.
I will never.
Life is entertaining enough.
I will never, ever. That is one business decision I will never make.
Most especially
Not anything against those that do.
No.
It is just not the type of environment that I like in my shop.
Right. Well, and I think
that's-
that speaks to also like that we really like the private suite situation.
Yes.
Giving undivided attention. But also from, I'd say, my philosophy, since that's the name of the channel,
Yep.
is very much that a television. Now, all right, so it depends on the atmosphere. Big, lively, busy shops, noisy. All right, that's a whole nother ballgame. That's nothing whatsoever. That is my my bag at all.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, that for
That's
you.
already
that's
not
for
my cup
you.
of tea.
Awesome.
Yes.
Like power to you. No judgment. Do you?
Correct. Yes.
For me, I view a television, most especially one that has cable, but a television period that is playing something on it, as inviting a variable into your shop that you don't have control over. And that you have to monitor unless you want something to come on that is no longer appropriate for all.
Yep.
So, I don't know, maybe I'm a control freak. I'm not denying it. But to invite that type of a variable is just asking for trouble. Especially when we have so many ways to engage with our customers. And you can have toys, you can have Legos, you can have books, you can have magazines, you can have all sorts of things to keep people occupied if they choose. If you're not having a conversation with them. But also to not have people turn into zombies. Like, we are surrounded by screens so much that it's actually
So
it's like
often.
changing the shape of humans' eyeballs because we're looking at screens all day long. And so, like, just to add another one and to make people turn into zombies and just be like, SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Not knocking SpongeBob.
Nope. We love SpongeBob.
Yep.
Or
But
at least I do.
but it's like, come on, like, especially with kids, like one of the barber's responsibilities is to teach them how to engage in conversations with
Yeah.
other human beings.
The socialization aspect. Well, and I also feel like, for me personally, because I do go to a barber, I've gone to a barber. For me, that time, I want to disconnect. I'm not disconnecting if there's still so much like that going on. I'm not just engaging and being in the moment with that person.
And if you're getting distracted by somebody just walking by, imagine how distracted you are
Yeah.
with a TV that's like designed to keep you engaged.
Well, and honestly, now at this point, even if I wanted a TV, it would never work for the clientele that I've established, because a big realm of my clientele has learning disabilities or is somewhere on the spectrum where
Sensory issues.
just a wheelhouse of variety of people end up in my chair, and I couldn't do that to them. It wouldn't be fair. They wouldn't be able to focus. Even see, I could shut the TV off when they're in there, but sometimes just seeing a TV is stimulating enough to make them want to interact with it, to then lose them completely and their focus for the haircut. I wouldn't even stand a chance. So that's just never, it'll just never be a thing for me.
All right.
I like my guys too much.
It's for the clients.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we've yammered on enough. And we covered our topic for this week. So
Perfect.
thank you again for joining me and having this lovely discussion. I know this sometimes causes some stress for you, some anxiety.
It's all right. Once it starts, it gets a little better. It becomes more natural.
The anticipation. It's terrible.
Yeah. But
All
it
right.
was a pleasure.
Well, have a wonderful night. We will see you next week.
Bye.